Republicans are mad these days about something called judge shopping, which is rich because nobody judge shops like a conservative going bankrupt, which is, in fact, the specialty of our president. And so that is what we are talking about today. We are debunking the myth being propagated by some conservatives that there is a scourge in the country called judge shopping, and that this is something that A, can be stopped, and B, that is somehow unique to the Democratic Party, which is ridiculous. I've been talking quite a lot about the conservative attacks on the judiciary. There are some legitimate grievances they hold, but a lot of this is pearl clutching by a party who is just as guilty, if not more guilty, of the very things they are accusing the other side of. That is what we are talking about today. I'm Carly Riley. This is the Carly P. Riley Show. I'm trying to understand what is happening in this moment in American history, American politics, without being beholden to any one echo chamber. I am happy to call out the left, just as I will call out the right. If that sounds interesting to you, would love to have you subscribe to the channel or share this episode if you get value from it. And with that, let's dive into it. All right, let's listen to the Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett talk about judge shopping and explain it, sort of.
These federal judges who are issuing temporary restraining orders, Democrats and liberal groups have sprinted to their favorable venues and preferable judges. It's known derisively as judge shopping. It is highly unethical. It should be made illegal, which is why Senator Hawley is introducing a bill to stop it and also rein in these district court judges who abuse their very limited jurisdiction.
First of all, the idea that these judges are abusing their power is silly. You've had the Supreme Court just recently pass power back down to these district court judges. This is an opinion that he is treating as a fact, which is, of course, what both political parties do all the time. But the more important thing is they want to make judge shopping illegal? That's what you're going with, Greg Jarrett on Fox News? You're going with it's highly unethical to judge shop? And just if it wasn't clear, the practice of judge shopping is when you file a lawsuit in a particular jurisdiction because you believe the judge in that jurisdiction will be favorable to you, or you believe that you are more likely to get a judge that will be favorable to you in a particular jurisdiction. And no one loves judge shopping. And I mean, no one. Like rich fucking Republicans going into bankruptcy, which is literally the specialty of our current Republican president. Our current president filed the same casino into bankruptcy 2 different times over the span of many years in 2 different districts, according to what was going to be best for his business practices when he filed for bankruptcy. The first time he filed in New Jersey, the second time he filed in Delaware. Now, I covered the Purdue Pharma bankruptcy, which, if folks don't know, the Sackler family, the billionaires who basically created the opioid epidemic in the United States of America, they hatched a 10-year-long plan to leverage the bankruptcy system in order to make themselves very rich and have no legal liability for all of the illegal things they did to make the country addicted to opioids. I did a whole episode about this. I will link to it. But here is the upshot of it.
The Sacklers set a plan in motion in which step 1 was to extract and hoard as much of Purdue Pharma's wealth for themselves as possible and to hide it away in offshore accounts where it could never be accessed through lawsuits or other regulatory legal means. And step 2 was to drive the company into bankruptcy, whereby it would shut down and take all of the legal liability and Sackler family risk along with it.
Well said, if I do say so myself. But the critical piece of this is that the Sackler family filed the bankruptcy for Purdue Pharma in White Plains, New York, even though the company was very much not headquartered in White Plains, New York. And they did that because they knew that they were likely to get a judge in the district in White Plains where they filed who was sympathetic to something called third-party releases. And third-party releases is exactly what they needed in order to release themselves of any legal liability following the fall of Purdue Pharma. My point is that while we think of bankruptcy as a tool to help people get back on their feet if they've made some bad financial decisions or medical bankruptcy, bankruptcy is also very much a tool that is leveraged by rich individuals, wealthy individuals in all sorts of different ways. And to do that, they always use judge shopping. And frankly, it's not just about bankruptcy. Everyone judge shops. Rich people of all ideological persuasions love to use the legal system, and they're going to manipulate it in any way they can. In fact, many years ago, a judge called judge shopping a national legal pastime. It has been around since literally the founding of our legal system, when in the early days, people would sometimes go to federal courts and sometimes go to state courts, depending on where they thought they could get more favorable treatment. Then there were laws introduced that started to restrict that, and so people just found another way to forum shop. It is literally a legal game of whack-a-mole. There is never going to be a scenario in which this is not a part of the legal system, because there are always going to be differences in judges and differences in jurisdictions and differences in procedures, and you're always going to find a way to work the system via forum shopping, which, by the way, Greg Jarrett, legal analyst at Fox News, very much knows. So once again, I am asking conservatives to spare me the pearl clutching over what they see as this overreaching judiciary. There is an intelligent, nuanced conversation to be had about whether or not the judiciary is overreaching. There's a nuanced, intelligent conversation to be had about judge shopping, maybe less so, but certainly about nationwide injunctions. But conservatives are not having that nuanced intelligence conversation. They want to throw out a lot of terms to make us all think that there is some deep state conspiracy that is hurting your life as a Republican. And the truth is, it is 90% bullshit. All right, folks, that is our episode for today. If you did enjoy, would love if you would share this episode or comment below. And with that, I will see you next time.